Okay, so in this lesson we're going to be talking about two different things, absolute value and opposites. We're going to start with absolute value here. The definition of absolute value is the distance a number is away from zero. So we have a number line right here, and we have 0 on it right here. And then I just went up to +5 and back to -5. Now, something that we're just really working on, we're not really adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing negative numbers. We're just figuring out where are they on the number line. And in our previous video, we talked about, okay, at 0, when I make it bigger, this is our normal number line. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, okay? When I'm going backwards, I'm counting the same, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they are going to the negatives. So it's going to go -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. So it's the distance a number is away from 0. So if I had a question that said, okay, what is the absolute value, and you can see on the example problems down here, the symbol for absolute value are two vertical lines with the number in between. So if I had a question that said, what is the absolute value of -5? Okay? Well, what I would do is I'm going to put my pencil on -5 right here, and I'm going to figure out how many hops, or what is the distance it is from -5 to 0, because that's what absolute value is. So we just make our hops here. So I start here, and let's see if I can get it so my finger's not in the way. All right, and I just start hopping. All right, so that's a 1. Pen doesn't want to cooperate with me here. That's a 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hops. So the absolute value of -5 is equal to a +5. It took me 5 hops total, +5. Now, if I wanted a different question, let's try a different pen here. If I wanted a different question of what is the absolute value of +5, all right, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but start at +5 and figure out how many hops is to 0. So start here, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it ends up being actually a +5 again. So both the absolute value of -5 and +5 is a +5. Distances, we're always going to be talking about positive distances here. So now I just go down to my two example problems. The absolute value of 3, I don't need a number line anymore. It's always going to be a positive number. So the absolute value of 3 is 3. And the absolute value of -8 is a +8, because absolute value is always positive. Now, we talk about absolute value, and we also talk about opposites. So an opposite now, opposites are two numbers that are the same distance from 0, but on opposite sides of the number line. For example, up here, -5 and +5, they're both the same distance. We learned that. They're both 5 away, but they're on opposite sides. One's a positive, one's a negative. Okay? So I look at it. The opposite of 6 is going to be a -6. Okay? Now, this is a question that is a standard, okay? The opposite of -9. So I need to kind of break it apart and look at the second half first. So it says the opposite of the opposite. So I'm going to start here. All right, and I look at, well, the opposite of -9. All right, well, -9, the opposite of that is going to be a +9. So I'm at a +9 right now. I uncover the other part, so it's the opposite of +9, which is -9. So the opposite of the opposite, they cancel each other out, and I can kind of color code this here. So I start off with my yellow part. Oh, there we go. And then, so I figure out what is the opposite of -9, and then I move on to the pink part here, which says, well, find the opposite of the yellow. So there we go. And I'm done. Okay, so I do the yellow first and then the pink. All right, the opposite of -9 is a +9. The opposite of that is back to a -9 again. If I'm just looking at it in regular number, maybe a standard form, not a word form, you're going to see it as a negative -1. This means the opposite of the opposite of 1. Okay, well, the opposite of a -1 is a +1. So hopefully this helps a little bit distinguishing between an absolute value, which is always positive, and I'm going to write that up here actually. So absolute value, always positive. Okay, it's always positive. So absolute value, always positive. Opposites, I change the sign. Okay, I change the sign. Just watch out for when it's the opposite of the opposite.